Okay, great. Then without further ado, I'd like to call together to order the design review. Let me start again. I'd like to call to order the Design Review Board regular meeting for Monday, July 19th, 2021. Let's first of all have roll call. Steve Antonio here. Would the board members like to say their name and confirm attendance? Anka, you're on mute. Anka, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Anka Dragulski here.
Kate?
Kate Beal.
All right, and Elaine? Elaine, you're on mute, but can you just say, yes, I'm here? Okay, and she confirmed.
Yes, I'm here, sorry.
Thank you very much. We're also joined with, thank you for coming, Bob, from Economic Development, and Jackie Battos, our Selectman Liaison. And Carolyn Tierney is a new person that has an interest in DRB. We have not finalized the paperwork with zoning, so she is not officially a member of our board yet, but she'll be sitting in tonight to see what we do. She has designing background, interior design. She's had a company for years, and we'll go over it more when we do the official welcoming. But thank you for joining us, Carolyn. I appreciate it. Also joining us is some representatives that will be presenting tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to move forward to new business, but I would like to present an explanation before we do. Our first application is Stardust LLC, of which I am a part owner of this company. We have Terry Hahn from LADA presenting, and I will remain seated to maintain a quorum. However, I will abstain when we come to voting for obvious reasons. I can't be completely impartial being a partial owner of Stardust. So just with that explanation, Terry Ann, we'd like to go over application 21-16 of Stardust LLC owner, LADA PC LLC agent for a special exception pursuant to section 4.5 of the zoning regulations for the construction of a self-storage facility at the property located at Terriffill Road. So Terry Ann, can you take it from there, please?
Good evening. This is Terry Ann Hahn. I'm principal of LADA PC Land Planners. We're the land planners for the project. Mike, if you can, you could go ahead and pull up my presentation, design review presentation, please.
Yep, we're doing that right now.
Okay.
Or Terry, if you want to screen share, like.
Okay, I can do that too. I'm prepared for both opportunities here.
Why don't you screen share? Everyone can see it.
Can everybody see this?
Yep.
All the plans are good? Okay. So the property is located at 20 Terriffill Road, which is located here where my cursor is. It is known as the Old Well property because the Old Well restaurant has occupied that for quite some time. It is located in the B1 zone. It's 12.5 acres. Okay. The proposed project is to remove a lot of the extraneous pavement. The pavement that's out there was based on a use that really no longer happens. Way back when, I remember in the 70s going to the Old Well when it was just something else than what it currently is. And so the idea is to add self-storage up on the upper plateau. If you recall the way this property works, it's relatively flat. And then there's a drop down to a lower meadow and then ultimately down to the Farmington River. All the work would be on the upper plateau, except there is one existing pipe stormwater pipe that we're removing and replacing. We're proposing a total of 11 buildings to be located, as you can see in the configuration here. The idea is that they're spread out towards the back, which makes them not visually dominant from Terriffill Road or any place that anybody would see them. There is along the edge, there's an infiltration basin so that we can limit our stormwater. There's an existing drive that goes out to a residence and a building out in the back. And then you have the woods and the drop down to the lower meadow. So it's quite secluded back there. The idea is that each of the buildings are a little bit different. The perimeter buildings all have shed roofs. The interior buildings more have gable roofs. They are different purposes. We've got 2 buildings in the middle that are climate controlled, but the rest of them are not. They're just sort of typical self-storage. Be using the off-white green, a dark green combination, so that you can get a sense of what it would look like. It is a combination of different size doors that's really dictated by the manufacturer and that floor plan that we showed before. Just another view. There will be lighting. Those are building mounted lights on the building themselves. The fixture will come next, but it's, as you can see from the lighting plan, it's relatively low level lights. We're not looking to create large scale lighting out on the property. We did not put lighting along the outside edge here just because it's usually limited use during the evening. The wall mounted light fixture, it's a LED. All down lighting, all dark sky compliant. And then the few parking lot poles at the entrances would just be, they've got these now, we used to call them shoe boxes, but now they're really just sliver lights, so that it would provide that larger, here. There's one located here at the entrance and here at the entrance. And that, if I go back, we have planting to the site plan, planting, but really what we try to do most of this, there's not a lot of plant material out there at the moment. We are maintaining all of the existing woods along this edge, which is the east edge. We're doing screen planting along the north sides and some additional habitat planting, which is required because this area off the east of the edge of the parking lot is a filter strip, which is a stormwater facility. And I think that pretty much covers it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So I'll still maintain my position as chair. And typically we go through and with each member and see if they have any questions in particular that they have right off the cuff. So without further ado, Elaine, would you like to start? Elaine?
Sure. So this is kind of that space between the restaurant and the barn that we've used for storage, Steve, is that correct? Am I picturing it right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The barn's still there. If you look, it's right where Terry Ann is hovering over right now.
Okay.
So
Good,
we
thank
sort of
you.
separated that, and there's a water base, and that doesn't exist. That's part of what the town has asked, and that it sort of makes it more secluded back there, but maintains it.
If you don't mind, Steve, I'll answer those kind of questions as applicant.
Good point, Terry Ann. I am so sorry. Naturally, just to answer questions. I apologize.
And the my other question is the entrance. Is it kind of sharing a driveway with
Yes,
the
it
old
is.
well? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right now, the current entrance is this area along Terriffill Road is a big, wide open pavement. Eventually, the town is planning on coming in and putting a bike path across here. And so what we've done is to, in preparation for that, to create the separation of the entry points. So right now, the old well would share this one. This would be your main entry. There's a gate component here. And then you could drive all the way around here and then out this way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I don't think I have any other questions. I'll throw it to the next person in line.
Anka, would you like to go next?
Sure. From design point of view, honestly, it's okay. I'm fine. These are just prefab units. They look decent. No comments there. But I do have a question. Why did you choose to develop this piece of land with self-storage units? Was any other use considered at any time?
Yeah, over the years, there have been many, many uses considered for this property. They never really quite click. Self-storage is a sort of a lightly used portion of the land. I mean, it doesn't occupy a lot of people. It's you don't have a lot of traffic coming in and out of here. It seems like a good edge condition for this particular property.
Okay. As I said, I cannot comment much. Obviously, I don't know the background of this development, how it evolved. And definitely planning and zoning is deciding on the usage and further development of this land. But in general, and this is again just my very own opinion, is that a lot of residential structures are built in this town. And now we have also lots of self-storage spaces. So really, it doesn't look very promising, from construction point of view, the development of this town we live in, just housing and self-storage units, and I don't know. Anyway, but as I said, back to the scope of our board, the design review board. Yes, aesthetically, I have no comments. They look okay. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anka. Kate?
Yeah, I echo. It's like, okay, self-storage units. I have a question. The area, the ground around the units, is that paved? Is it dirt, permeous, impervious, whatever?
It is. It will be paved asphalt. We did consider permeable pavement, specifically a permeable asphalt. However, in discussions with the town engineer, he felt that we would end up having to do stormwater basins and the infiltration systems, no matter what. That we don't really get credit for that from a stormwater perspective. So it will be basic asphalt on the ground.
That's all for me.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll close the hearing. Terry Ann, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close the application, and then we can deliberate and consider a motion or a referral rather?
I think we covered everything. The only other thing that we are doing is we're just cleaning up the existing parking lot, or sort of restriping and getting the handicap spaces, which were probably designed quite some time ago, up to speed for the in and out of the old well building as well. So that will also be taken care of.
Okay, if I can also make one quick observation, the only parcel, or rather where this parcel abuts residential, you'll see a much heavier screening in the northwest corner. That's all right, because DRB were also the landscape aspect. And I just want to point out that was acknowledged and hopefully appropriately addressed. So with that, we'll close the application. And again, because I am retaining my seat for the quorum, I do feel somewhat that I'd like to take a second row seat for some deliberation amongst yourselves. So Elaine, since you are my vice chair, if you want to sort of lead any deliberation amongst the team members here.
Sure, and I will rest the minds of all of the OG Simsburians who are trying to remember. It was Geminis in the 70s.
Yeah.
Just so we all can feel like we aren't trying to remember what it was named back in the day. I think, does anyone have any substantive design issues they would like to address? I can't see everybody because I'm on my phone, so feel free to pipe up if you have some input you'd like as part of our deliberation. Anka, Kate?
Okay for now.
Okay.
I already said what I think. So
All right. Well, within our purview is the design. Thank you for, especially, I think it seems like the landscaping in particular seems like it was pretty thoughtfully assembled. So I will go ahead and put a motion that we give a favorable referral to the zoning commission. Would either of you like to be the second?
Second.
All right. Kate has seconded. All in favor? Aye.
I
Okay, looks like our motion carries unanimously, and we will be sending a positive referral, and all those other questions you can deal with zoning on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you. And Steve can come back from exile now.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge, though, for the voting record, I, of course, did abstain.
Excellent.
So no vote there. So moving right along, let's get into application 21-17 of Gerard Brothers Corporation owner Chris Nelson, applicant for family housing development per plans provided to be located at 32 and 36 Iron Horse Boulevard. Who would like to, Chris, would you like to speak on behalf, or whoever would like to speak on behalf of the applicant, please?
Sure. This is Chris Nelson. Greg Ugaldi is with me. He's my partner in this endeavor. Along with us, we also have Mark Aragoni and Jack Kemper, who are here. Mark presented the site plan to you. We've actually been, and Jack is the architect involved in the design. We were back here 9 months ago, back in October, and we came in with some very, very preliminary plans. There was a lot of environmental and demolition work to do, so we weren't pushing too hard. But you gave us some really great feedback as far as the design of the building. You challenged us to go a little further and make this place really something more special as far as its streetscape went. And we brought in Jack Kemper, and I think he accomplished that. And we're actually very excited about the site plan and the architecture right now. So I'm going to ask Mark just to give you a reminder of the site plan. We have a new rendering that we can show you, and then Jack can put up the elevations of the building. We really haven't changed a thing since the last time, because when we were with you last, you really didn't send us away with any instructions or feedback that was directed at modifying anything. So this is more of a hopefully a formality, just to remind you of what's going on, see if there's any new questions that have come up. But what we're really looking for, we have a zoning meeting at 7 o'clock tonight. So we're looking for your formal recommendation that you're happy with this, or recommendation with some guidance. But that's where we are. Mark, could you pick it up?
Great. Mr. Chair, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, please do.
All right. Thank you very much. And just give me a heads up if everybody can see the screen.
Got it.
There.
All right. So what we're showing, and for the record, Mark Aragoni, landscape architect with SLR Consulting. What I'm going to show you is a preview of what we're going to show the entire presentation at the public hearing tonight for planning and zoning, but I think we'll just focus on our new site plan and just make sure everybody is up to speed on exactly what we're going to be presenting and what the project looks like. But again, if you remember what the original plan was, the basics of the design are the same. We have 5 apartment buildings, 35 units in each building, with some parking behind the building under sort of at that first level. We have a very interesting, and what I really like is the flow through this development as far as where we have our access point right off of Iron Horse Boulevard, right at
Mark,
the break.
sorry to interrupt. I apologize. Honestly, I cannot remember this first version of the site plan that you mentioned. Do you by any chance have it so we can compare? In all honesty, right now, after probably 2 months, those 5 units seem that they grew bigger, and probably it's just my memory that's failing me. Probably they were always that big. Do you have the very first version of this site plan available?
I think I can answer that, and Jack, and feel free. It may be just the color, because the building locations and the building sizes really have not changed.
Actually, if I could interject, Anka, the first time they proposed to us, there was a substantial amount of green space setting these buildings back. And all that landscaping that is now to the rear of the property was in front of the property. And we had asked them to flip it and put that landscaping behind and bring the buildings closer to the road. So I think that's part of the illusion of why they might appear bigger, is because now we're looking straight at the buildings instead of the buildings being set back. But that was a referral from a request from us at that meeting a couple months ago. So I'm not sure, Mark, if that is a component, but I figured I should mention it, just my own memory as a potential thing. But the square footage, Mark, you can confirm, is the same square footage that's always been there? That was a question and comment.
Correct. Maybe plus or minus a foot here or there, but generally the buildings are the same size. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So again, just to make sure everybody's up to speed on exactly how the project functions, is main access is going to be off of Iron Horse Boulevard at the break in the boulevard, how it exists now, which will allow for a left turn lane in. The traffic flow will be through the main entrance, right up through to the clubhouse. Jack will go through how the clubhouse architecture will be in a little bit. Then the traffic flow will be around these internal roadways with some parking. As you can see in these smaller rectangular, these are actually standalone garages. So there's actually 16 garages in this building fed from either side. And you can see sort of a mirror image similarity. Again, some more garages in this location. But the internal roadway network will flow around the buildings and allow for access to the garage spaces, which each building has 9 garages that are loaded from the back. Again, 175 units, 35 units in each building. The clubhouse that you see in front and center as you drive into the site will be accompanied by a pool area, a very nice green space in the back that we have spent some time on the design. It's still a very simplistic design with the outdoor patio, some umbrella seating, 2 outdoor gas fire pit areas, and then what's shown flanking the green space in this location and this location are actually outdoor gas grills for the residents to use. And again, the view shed out over the wetland system in the back is going to be pretty tremendous. The other thing that we've really focused on sort of refining is the loop trail system, which is going to be a paved trail connection that ties into the existing bike trail that loops around the back, continues all the way around the site, and then connects back in with the bike trail system here. So what it really is going to look like is almost a separate or spur trail system that can be accessed by the public.
Here it is.
So maybe the buildings look a little bit different here, but I just wanted to give you a little bit idea of the grading plan that's associated with the project. Again, generally a flat site until we get to the back of the site, where we will be utilizing that lower floodplain shelf for construction of a water quality infiltration swale in the back that will be vegetated with native wetland vegetation. Again, we're going to create a secondary trail system that loops off of our paved trail down into that wetland area. It will be a gravel trail.
So 3.
It will have several boardwalk sections to allow for stormwater to exit the proposed water quality basin. But that trail will be a nice informal access down into that floodplain shelf. And the idea is that trail system is going to be gravel. We're going to maintain a mow edge of about 4 feet on either side of that, but the rest of it is going to be in a meadow type habitat. So it's not intended to be a mown consistent. We're just going to mow about a 4-foot strip on either side of that trail for maintenance purposes. But again, just another feeling, instead of a paved trail or a paved bike trail, we're going to take advantage of that floodplain shelf down here and maneuver and wind that trail system. It will all be accessible grades. We are going to have a staircase and an elevated deck pergola or gazebo in this location that will be accessed. You'll be able to get down to that floodplain shelf. But again, just a nice feature for the development. A couple other items. We're going to have a recycling center in this area in the back left-hand corner, along with a maintenance office and a maintenance building that will be separate for the site. And then a secondary means of access to and from Iron Horse Boulevard, but this will only be a right turn in and a right turn out because of the boulevard that exists out currently at the site. We talked a little bit, if I can go back to the other rendering, potentially. Well, we'll stay with this one. We did talk about the green space out in front here, which right now is wooded. It's a sort of an informal berm if you drive by the site right now. We are going to regrade that, level it off. It will be a lawn feel to it, lined by street trees. So it's going to give the sort of the definite feel of a park space along the bike trail and a park space in front of those first three buildings that you see. So what it's going to do is, in essence, accomplish what I think moving those buildings right up onto the street or onto the bike trail would, but it's also going to create that green space that's going to benefit both the bike trail and the development itself. I'm just going to try and get to another graphic here. I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare to see if I can trigger this.
So Chris, Mark rather, while you're doing that, you had alluded that you'd mow 4 to 5 feet on either side of the trails, but you're going to maintain this in an annual fashion, correct, as a common area?
Correct, yeah. I mean, the intent is where we want it to be meadow. We don't want it to turn into a woody herbaceous. Any invasive species will be maintained and taken out. So the meadow areas would get taken down, cut once a year, similar to, a hayfield, so to speak, something like that. But the intent would be to create and keep the species that we want there. Keep those species that we don't want out. So yeah, there would be definitely maintenance.
Okay, thank you. So that's the same screen.
Yeah, try it one more time. All right, so there's the rendered site plan. I'm going to jump down to your renderings, Jack, because I think so. I want to jump on that one first.
Okay. Good evening, Jack Kemper Associates. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
What these drawings are pretty much, when I say pretty much, they are exactly the same drawings that I presented last time. So we made the buildings, we're really working hard to make them feel like separate buildings. We're playing with different materials, different colors. I think we had some discussions. Some people liked the blue, some people didn't. I don't think we're committing to colors tonight. But we're really trying to make it feel like traditional architecture, the buildings. And so each building feels like 4 separate buildings. And Mark, if you want to go to the clubhouse. And I'll talk a little bit about that. The clubhouse is if you remember Mark's site plan, it's in the exact middle, and it's low key. I'm thinking about some of the nice Ensign Bickford brownstone buildings that are low. There's a couple like H-shaped or U-shaped buildings along a hot meadow that I think are really sort of what I saw as an inspiration for this clubhouse. It's really, even though it's kind of the focal point, it's really kind of the downplayed focal point. So it's homey, It's low slung. You look right through the building to the meadows that Mark described. It's got a big living room, a big kitchen, a gym, locker rooms, meeting rooms, and a really nice exterior living room, like a big covered porch, and it opens to the pool. This rendering that Mark is showing shows how that's kind of in the middle and how the buildings work to really feel like a street in this situation. So when you see this behind the park, kind of along the road that Mark described, I think this will really fit in nicely with Simsbury. And again, I think Mark gave you the totals, the units, the 175 units, 35 units per building. We have more nuts and bolts if you're interested.
Right. So thanks, Jack. And then I'm going to pull this one back up. This is the site plan that I lost. And the only thing I was going to add is after you look at Jack's architecture and you look at the layout, the intent, we believe, of the zone that was created for this property, we're going to meet it with the tree-lined streets, Jack's architecture, the sidewalk construction, the loop trail around the back, the ability to have that more natural, we'll call it a wetland walk down on the floodplain area. I think we have all the elements, just in a little bit of a different configuration, I think, that you saw maybe 3-4 years ago. But to that point, Chris or Greg, if you want to add anything.
Sure. We actually pulled up the site plan from March, and there's very, very little that is different. It's the same buildings, little different colors. The changes that were shown was the park behind the clubhouse has changed as far as the landscape. The tot lot and the mail center have switched locations. And we might have moved things 5 feet forward or back. But really, it's just to make it all play together really well. There was one point where we were looking at the Simsbury Center 5 zone guidance, and it was saying put the buildings within 12 feet of the street, and we had them pulled all the way up on Iron Horse Boulevard. And it was this commission, I think, that told us to push them back and put that green space, put that park in the middle. So these buildings are set back 150 feet from the rails to trails going along there, and there's actually a park there in the middle. So it accomplished a lot of what your guidance was, and the question as to have the buildings changed or gotten bigger, the drawing's a little bit different as far as color. We also were able to incorporate the drone footage around the perimeter. So if you're looking at this, it looks like real trees around the perimeter. Well, it is. It was flown by drone, and we've just kind of placed this into the existing location. So that's really, in a nutshell, we're coming back to you, but really haven't changed much at all based on our prior conversations.
All right, can we switch to the elevation view, if you could, please, of the buildings? 21, yep, up one, yes, please. So actually, our last meeting, if I'm not mistaken, we had discussed if you could bring in some brownstone accents, and that red area still looks like brick there, whereas on the clubhouse, it looks like brownstone. Is that in fact brick on the main structures and brownstone on the clubhouse?
That's correct. And what I have is I have brownstone for the headers on the brick. And it's kind of interchangeable too. I think we will be doing some of that. It's all going to be a veneer. I see the brick and the brownstone as kind of a similar color. And so it'd just be a texture change. So we're certainly able to do that.
It would tie in with your neighbors much better, which is one of our concerns, is the consistent flow of the presentation. So it's not a hardcore demand, but whatever brownstone accents you can bring are definitely appreciated as they are consistent with your neighboring buildings.
We love the brownstone, so that's not a problem.
All right. So Anka, how would you like to start off with any questions or comments you might have?
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Chris, for trying to look and find the original site plan. I obviously agree with you. You did your research, not much changed. Or if it did change, it's all for the better, as you mentioned. On my end, on my end, I love the clubhouse, the materials, the proportions, the size. I still think, from my perspective, that these apartment buildings are a bit too much. They will be overpowering everything else and obstruct the view in the back. But again, this is just me looking at some renderings right now, the frontal views. So maybe I'm under the wrong impression that these apartment buildings are a bit too big. The volume is too much for the site. Definitely, Mr. Kemper is doing a fantastic job so far, winning us with nice drawings, nice colors, great design. I trust him fully. But eventually, when you guys will reach that phase, I hope you'll come back and present the design review board the materials that you are planning in using. At that time, I think we should all see them physically, touch them, not just like buying stuff on Amazon online. Just go in a brick and mortar store and touch it. This is my only comment at this point, to please present us the final materials that you are planning in using, especially when it comes to all those veneers, the siding. Is it brownstone? Is it brick? Is it red? Is it blue? Is it whatever color? So other than that, I think the project is moving along. My impression of the entire development being a little overdone, overbuilt, as I said, is just a personal opinion. But other than that, everything is great, and I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Anka. That was some great points. Actually, I'd like to defer to Mike Glynn, who's jumping out of the box there. Hey, Mike. Are we going to get another blush with this, or is this our final positive review? Not to be presumptive, but our final referral.
This would be your only referral. Your one-time shot with it, unless the zoning commission meetings is continued to their next meeting. This would be your one chance at it.
Okay.
So aren't we missing things then, like lighting and materials and all the things that we normally would use to refer?
There's a lighting plan that's within the site plan, a photometric plan, etc.
Okay.
Let's drill down a little bit. Are we talking hardy planks on these buildings? What is this siding, and what is the the veneer? Are we talking vinyl, or just a little details on it? We're not going to overburn you, but I definitely want to get more of a feel of the building, if you will.
Chris, you want to talk?
Sure. This is Chris. Yes, our intention is to use hardy for the majority of the elevations. There will be some vinyl soffits and some wrap in certain locations that make sense, but the majority of the siding is to be a cement board product. And I also looked at the Simsbury Center 5 zone. It does require that 70% of our frontage be covered by building. And that's in an attempt to meet the guidelines of that zone. That kind of led to some of the larger building structures, or just really a push of a lot of connected little buildings all together. So we were really, as to one point, we were trying to meet that objective. But
That
as,
is what the charrette requested, Chris. You
yes,
know,
it is.
it is what it is. I'm not saying I agree with everything, but nobody agrees with everyone all the time. So I understand what you're trying to say, and you are conforming to what was requested at the time it was created. So with let's keep it moving though, because to be honest, we do have a time limit on this meeting. I do like to keep it moving anyways.
And
Over the windows,
Mr. Chairman, we are happy to come back for colors and
so
materials.
let's try and drill it down. Let's not cut it short. We still got a little time here, so let's see what we can get done.
No, I mean, after approvals, if this gets approved, before we actually build the buildings, we're happy to stop back in.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Chris. It would be nice to know what color. That was sort of evasive, and I don't mean that derogatorily, but not knowing the colors going in for a final referral is a little against the norm of what design and review is supposed to do. I mean, if you're going to switch to tie-dye colors, I think that might be something we'd have, some of us might have.
I understand your concern and question, and at the same time, we're bringing something in through zoning with the, I think normally the process, if it's approved, then it would come back for some of those details, and we're willing to do that.
I appreciate that very much. Over the windows, I see a sort of awning type thing. It looks almost like it's copper from here. Is that the accent by chance?
No, it wouldn't be copper. I think we're looking at like a painted sheet metal in different places. You're talking about on the end?
No, over, well, you can't see where I'm pointing, can you?
No.
Over like the 4-pack of windows over on the right side, further.
Yeah, that would be a standing seam metal roof over those bump outs.
Exactly.
And that would actually match the community building, which has a metal roof as well.
Perfect. Seriously, that's a great answer. Okay, so let's keep it moving along though. Kate, what do you got, please?
I generally like it. It is kind of hard to tell exactly what the colors are. I might like those standing seam roofs in like a black better, just to make it a little more contemporary against the white, even though I know I've seen applications in town where it's red, I get that, but I'm less personally inclined to have matchy on all the buildings in town to like look the same, but to have flavors from each other to kind of mix and match is fine. But yeah, generally I like it. It's a big housing development. I like it takes on a slightly different look than all of the like neo-colonial stuff that's been going in recently. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, and Elaine, what do you have for questions, please?
Well, this is a great improvement over the last elevation I saw. The last one I remember seeing really looked like you'd picked up Highcroft and dropped it in the middle of Simsbury. So I definitely think this is an improvement. I'll just echo your advice, Steve, and say materials wise, as much brownstone as you can get on there, the more the better. I think that using the native brownstone is a great look, ties in with the other buildings in the center of town. And so I would just turn up the volume on that. But otherwise, this is a significant improvement over the last one I remember seeing. So nice work.
Thank you.
And when you say street trees, do you know in particular what trees you were planning on using in that strip?
Yeah, right now we tried to keep it simple and not get too crazy with too many varieties. So right now we have red maples and Zelkova as the primary street trees. And then we're going to infill with flowering trees.
Okay, please. I'll put in my recommendation for please, for the love of Mike, no Bradford pears.
No, we don't like exploding trees after 5 winters either.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking about limiting invasives, which is excellent as well. So thank you.
How many sugar maples are on this plan?
There are no sugar maples on this plan. We have red maples.
Cool, I hate sugar maples.
Was that a trick
Yeah,
question?
it was.
Our previous town planner had an affection for sugar maples that was, I'm sorry, I digress. I apologize for that. I would like to drill down though on the lighting diagram though, if we could switch to that, please. I see there are some post lights and I like them, but I'd like the other board members to see what they look like. It's on one of the detail sheets.
Yeah, and I don't have that as part of the presentation. I have the
No, you-
photometric plan. I know
you
we
do,
submitted
it's-
the cut sheets.
Hold on, it's on page SD1. So it's got to be, it's in this packet though. It's got the fence on it, the split rail fence. Do you see that?
Yeah, this is a separate presentation, unfortunately, so that
Okay,
is part of
maybe
the
you could,
package.
maybe you could verbally just tell us the lamppost lights, if you will, are colonial. Is that correct? In nature? They're LED, but they're colonial type.
They're
frame.
LED, and I believe we were doing our best to try and match the existing theme of Simsbury downtown.
Right.
That
Which
was
is,
the intent.
that's sort of what we're supposed to be looking for.
Yep.
So I appreciate that consistency. And there's no lighting in that back basin, is there?
Right now, there is not, although I believe one of the comments that we received from engineering or planning was, should we consider lighting that lower path?
Well, just some security lighting, to be
Mhm.
honest, more
Mhm.
than illumination for the aesthetic. But it does come under the purview of design review. And while I do say security lighting, I also would rather it not be 5,000 K daylight
Yeah.
glow back there. So if you could just take that into consideration.
The
I'd
paved
appreciate it.
path, we would have proper lighting on. The gravel path would really, conservation doesn't want us to put any more into that than necessary. And certainly it's not something that would be used in the evening. So that's an area that, yeah, we might have to put some security lighting down there just so we can see what's going on. But there was not an intent to put walkway lighting along that.
I'll be honest, a simple sign that says pathway closes at dusk would accomplish it, because then it's irrelevant, because
Yeah,
it's a
it's-
closed pathway.
It's very much like the rails to trails. You're not supposed to be on the rails to trails at night. Well,
Right.
if people go out there, I suppose they could, but we don't have lighting on it.
No worries. All right, the post lights, those are throughout the complex, correct? Not just along the front area?
Correct.
Okay. So with that, to keep things moving, because we're getting a little tight on time, before we close the public part of this, does anyone have any additional questions for Chris or Mark? Okay,
So
Go.
I have a question for you actually, and for Mike. So Chris Nelson offered to meet with us again, one more time, to show us the materials. Do we
After-
take his offer? Are we going to see the materials?
I'm offering, if we do get approved through zoning,
Yes, oh
and this
yeah, yeah,
project
absolutely.
moves
It's time-
forward, then we would come
Yes.
back and
Yeah.
bring some stuff forward for you to take a look
Okay.
at, yes.
So
The
Mike,
applicants
we're
all-
going to have another view at the final materials if the project goes through, which most certainly will.
So the applicant's offering that to you, so you know, as long as Chris is committing tonight, you know, he can come back with those details for you. But normally, you get one bite of the apple. So he's offering it, so I mean, we could, Chris, if you're good with that, and Greg, post zoning, when you're finalizing for your building permits, coming back with a little more details on materials, by then we're probably gonna be in person again, what Anka's concern was.
Do you have any problem with that?
No, and see, you know, in the narrative too, we do have colors that we're talking about using, but we're happy to come and run them by you because it is, we have to keep things orderly, and we do need a referral to go to zoning. So hopefully we can keep marching forward, and then we'll bring back some materials for you.
You could issue a positive referral since the applicant has agreed to this and say that you're issuing a positive referral to the zoning commission with the consideration that the applicant will be back to provide further details on materials prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Excellent.
So that is there, and then we can come back if you want to see more details on beyond what's been presented as part of this submission package.
I missed the last part of that. Further detail of the materials and colors.
Prior to the issuance of a building permit. So it lets Chris and company, they go to zoning with the referral in hand, concept-wise, scale, landscaping, et cetera. This board is safe with it. Then with the assumption that, hey, before they get to a building permit stage, you'll have to see what they land on materials to make sure the materials are appropriate based on what they're kind of presenting to you. And it shouldn't be a lot of changes, it just should be clarifying what's been presented so far as part of this application process or application submittal.
Well, if I may, Anka, are you okay with hardy board?
I'm okay with hardy board, but it's more than hardy board or hardy planks.
Yeah, same thing.
Or, okay.
I wasn't sure if it was the color or the material.
It's the only thing that this board does at the end of the day, besides being puppets and approving everything. Okay, give us a chance, to see what they will really end up building. Right now, we see great renderings, spectacular. It's not much, and they are willing to show us. I mean, it's not that we are going to change it or disapprove with anything. We just want to be offered to see physically the materials that will be used. That's all.
No, it's like Kate brought up the black for consideration of the raised roof. They're all great things. However, I think it seems to be a general consensus that everyone is happy with what's been presented tonight. So I see a lot of nodding heads for the most part. So with that being said, I'd like to propose that I'd like to make a positive referral to the zoning commission on this project with the consideration that the applicant will come back to us with further detail on the materials and colors prior to the issuance of a building permit. Would someone like to second that perhaps?
I'll second.
Thank you, Elaine. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. No, against and abstain. There's no one left. So it is unanimous. Thank you very much for coming to us, and we appreciate
Thank you.
your consideration
Thank you.
to come back for that further checking in of materials and colors. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. So to keep things moving along, our next thing is the approval of minutes of June 21st. And if I'm not mistaken, we also need to approve the minutes of May 3rd. Or rather, June 7th and May 3rd, I think, are the minutes we have to approve. Is that correct, Mike?
If you can do the minutes quick, but you also have a referral regarding a zoning permit for the replacement of signs.
I'm so sorry. You're right.
Liquor store, and I think Linda from Loreno's from Artifacts is here. They're looking to replace it. The business has been sold, new tenants going in. It's exact replacement of the size of the sign. However, the change here is the lighting for the sign. Currently, there's some gooseneck lights that are on the building that illuminate the sign. They're looking to put a light bar above instead of the gooseneck lights. And basically shine down on the wall mounted sign. It's a change from what was there.
Okay.
Linda,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. So it's a change in the sense of the lighting is really the change. Why the zoning permit was referred to this board. If they were doing the exact replacement of the sign and not touching the gooseneck lights, we wouldn't have referred it to this board. And the channel, that's fine. So, I don't know, Linda, do you wanna put up the drawings, screen share the drawings?
I sure can. Good evening, Commissioners. Linda Loriano, Artifact Signs. With me is Lauren Rosen, owner of Artifact Signs. Quickly, let me get the...
On that last page that shows the difference, we can explain to the board, because that's really that's the main issue why this board is seeing this tonight.
Got it.
Can I make one comment before
Go ahead.
you go, Linda? What about, isn't the parking lot area illumination on the face of this building?
I do not know that question. Maybe if I can get perhaps a GIS or a Google map, I can tell you, but I'm not so sure. I've been there a couple of times, not at night. So I don't know whether or not there's any lighting on the curb.
Well, you have an as-built, do you not? A picture of as-built?
I have a rendering of the front of the sign. Can I share the screen? Can you all see it?
No, not yet.
Okay.
You can share it though.
Thank you.
Hit share screen.
Yep.
Yep.
I have it. Here it is. Okay.
Steve, to answer your question, yeah, here you go.
Okay.
Right there.
So that's existing.
So these are
Go ahead.
4 gooseneck lights right there. This is one light fixture that goes right across, which is the same length as the signage, 13 feet to be exact. Let's see, those are the details of the sign. Now the projecting, I believe, is similar to what is there now, or at least almost similar. The gooseneck goes out and then curves in right onto the sign. There is an aerial that I can also share with you. Did I think I just closed out, but let me just show you.
So, you know, while Linda's looking for this other example, you know, I'm thinking we've done this lighting quite a few times, and I have other examples of this lighting at night.
There is lighting on the street. Can you see the Google map?
Yeah.
Okay. There's lighting on the street. I know there's a parking lot area. There's nothing reflecting directly on the parking light. So to answer your question, I do believe that the lighting on the property, you know, just serves to light the walkway area and also the front facade of the buildings.
Could you by chance go north on Route 10? So we're looking straight at the face? Straight on instead of
okay, I will. I just wanted to also point out the projecting gooseneck. I know that a lot of gooseneck kind of curves. This one looks like it goes straight out, and I just wanted to point that out to the commission.
Linda, I mean, the big thing is just the change from the light, from the gooseneck to the light bar.
Got it.
So, you know, one thing, if I could point this out while Linda's looking around, it looks like there are 3 goosenecks, and then there are 2 kind of parking lot looking lights. It looks like they're flat LED lights to the left and right that are kind of angled. So we're removing all of those. The light that I have in mind, we manufacture in-house. And it's actually a nice light. It's not a traditional strip light. 1, it's seamless. 2, it's got a pretty thin profile. And 3, we'll probably bring it to a 3000 Kelvin. So it's got the feel of incandescent. And we used it recently, a similar colored light at Ethel Walker. We'd be using the same type of light. And I would estimate that in terms of luminosity, we're probably at about 1,500 lumens to 1,750, right in that pocket.
You know, your proposal calls for 5,000 K, right? In the paperwork.
It should be 3,000, so you could change that. Yeah, you know, the reason that 5,000 got in It was from a copy from another job.
There's times 5,000 looks good. It bright, it lights it up. And honestly, I'm a little conflicted here because you're removing the 2 parking lot illumination lights and you're also going with a warmer light. There's not going to be.
Yeah, but you know what? You look at the front of that place, it looks like somebody put the lights in with a shotgun. They make no sense. So I think if we did it a step at a time where we illuminate the sign, and then we could consider the parking lot. And I'm happy to help with the lighting there.
I think it's a component. You can't, take one leg of a table out and say that maybe we'll consider that. I mean, I don't mean to be confrontational.
Yeah, no, I understand.
This is the parking lot illumination.
Well, that's why we're talking now.
Yeah, no worries.
So what if we were to do this? What if we were to come in and, I have to be careful in what I say, because as I say it, I'm picturing going back to the client to tell them they have to spend more money. So I'm wearing 2 hats here. One is the guy trying to do the absolute right thing, and the other as the salesperson that has to hear the client. So I think if you had a strip light that illuminated the sign, let's say we go to 3,500 Kelvin. And then to the left and right of the sign, if we came up with a fixture system in the same Kelvin that would point to the parking lot without blinding anyone.
Right. I'll be honest, that would satisfy me. Of course, I am only one of the commissioners, but that would check the boxes, so to say.
Yeah, no, and I understand what you're saying, absolutely. The analogy with the table, although it's primitive, it's absolutely correct.
Okay, let's go person by person, which is our habit. Keeping in mind, we only have a couple minutes left here. Elaine, can you give us any input you might have?
I'm just curious about upward light projection. Is this strip, I haven't seen the one at Ethel Walker. Does this strip that you produce keep the light going downwards?
Yeah, and we could go either way. Why did we decide to go above? I think we felt from the oblique that we might run into a little bit of trouble with the fixture blocking the letters.
I can see that from below.
Yeah, so what we would do is we would take the fixture, it's adjustable. We put it on a pivot and we would pivot it specifically toward the rectangular sign area.
Right, but the top of your strip is opaque. Is that correct? So you're not shooting.
Yeah, basically what we do is we take a round aluminum tube and we send it through a table saw and we cut it into a semicircular tube, and then we make a lens that is a diffusing lens that fits into the semicircle.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just checking on light pollution. Thanks.
All right, keeping it going quickly. Kate, what do you have on this one?
I think it's fine. It looks okay to me.
All right, quickly, Anka, do you have any input? Anka, are you there? Sorry.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry. So lighting in so much detail is not my specialty. So I agree with what you, Steve, suggested, and I'm sure in the end will be a very nice sign and very nicely lit.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
If you could just one last time confirm that it's consistent with the colors on Benny's, at least, the variation. I don't know what
Sure.
Benny's is.
The colors on Benny's are black. I believe they're black and white
Okay,
background.
so it matches.
Well, I think you're referring to the awning. What we'll do is we'll mix a burgundy that's complementary so that it's not a clash. But I would sense that our burgundy would be a bit deeper, only because this is, it looks like a sunbrella fabric. I happen to know Benny. he did some work in my house.
Didn't he sell
Not
it?
that it makes
Never
a
mind.
difference,
That's
but I think I would go with just a touch darker, but in the same family. So the value is turned down, but the hue is identical.
Perfect. Again, great answer. With that being said, and in the light of time, I think you are definitely on the path. So I'd like to propose we make a positive referral of this package with the understanding that we're going to shoot for 3,500K as a color of the lighting going down. We're also going to replace the 2 wall packs or downward lighting packs to be in line with the sign on either side, and again, go with that warmer light, but it will illuminate the parking area. Was that clear? Did everyone understand what I said by that?
Yep.
All right. So would anyone like to second this positive referral?
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. There's no one left to vote against it or abstain, so it's unanimous. You pass, and thank you for your consideration. I'm glad we could work with that workaround.
Thank you.
Thank you. The
Have a
town's
great-
looking great.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so we got to keep going quickly. Mike, can you confirm it's the minutes of May 3rd and June 7th that need to be voted on? And we can just
You know what,
bust them
Steve?
out?
We could just table that to the next meeting.
You got it.
Minutes.
So we're going to table that. And because of the time, well, we do have a couple minutes. Literally, when I say a couple, I mean 2. And just quickly amongst the commissioners, what is your personal feeling on the next meeting being in person, hybrid, or remote? So Anka, what are your feelings on that? In person, hybrid, or remote for the future?
Definitely the remote meetings are fine.
All right,
Unless
that's good.
Unless we have to touch materials that are being used, and really, realistically, this doesn't happen every time. Maybe once a year, twice a year, it's ridiculous, so.
No, I agree with you, though. It's important. Go ahead, Kate. Kate, you have your hand up. So.
I know, sorry, I gotta run because I'm in like a meeting right now I'm supposed to be in. But yeah, I'm good with whatever. Definitely cutting the commute out is great. So I'm gonna jump off. Is that all right? We don't have to vote on this,
Got
right?
it. Thanks, Kate. You're excused. Go ahead. Elaine, what are your feelings on it?
I'm good. I do feel like those rare times when we are looking at materials, it's nice to be in person, but otherwise it's a lot easier for us to quick put together a quorum doing it remotely. So, the convenience factor is high.
Okay, and speaking of quorum, we have lost our quorum, so we need to adjourn our meeting. I'll still go through the technicalities of proposing that we adjourn. Would someone like to second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry we hit a couple bumps along the way tonight. I look forward to seeing you soon, and have a great night. Thanks for